Hey y'all,
What's up, y'all?
I'm Will,
I'm Elise.
and this is Team Tatum.
We are back with another movie off of the 1001 Movies You Must Watch Before You Die 2020 edition. And as we said in the last two videos, in October we're only doing horror movies, and this one is no different. So today we will be reviewing the 1962 horror film Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, directed by Robert Aldrich. So the synopsis for this movie is that a former child star torments her paraplegic sister in their decaying Hollywood mansion.
So neither one of us had heard of or seen, well, obviously we ain't heard of it, we ain't seen it, but neither one of us knew nothing about Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. It stars Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. Didn't know they were rivals in real life, so this movie was kind of like hit close to home. But that's why they wanted to make it, because not them, but the powers that be. They were like, they could really sell this because they actually do dislike each other. So I thought that was cool. But so with the title, this movie's not what I thought it was gonna be. So
Same.
I want to just pitch that right quick. So we already said what the synopsis of the movie is, right? But we don't ever go in with the synopsis. We read that when we're doing these. But you say what you thought it was.
I thought it was going to be about a baby named Jane who somehow went missing, and the movie is saying, what happened to baby Jane? Where is baby Jane? And the movie showed that she went missing, and then it followed trying to find her, whatever. Interesting.
What about the beginning of the movie? Based on the beginning of the movie, how did you think the movie was gonna go?
Based off of the beginning of the movie, I thought something happened to that girl, and they were gonna find out what happened to that girl. Like, she again went missing. She just wasn't a baby. She went missing, and this was gonna tell about what happened with it. And just
So before anything started, what she said, like something was gonna happen to some baby named Jane, and it was gonna be a mystery as to,
like the Hindenburg baby.
But when the movie starts, so the movie starts out in, I think it was 1917, and there's a girl who's about 10 or so,
no older than 10,
dancing on stage, and she's basically Shirley Temple, right? Like, she's this cutesy little girl with her curls in her hair and whatnot, tap dancing and singing, performing like at this theater, right? And then there's this girl, she's blonde, and then there's a brunette girl who's off in the wings with what looks like her mom, and she's looking like, she got a look in her eye like, I want to be out there, or that should be me, or whatever. And everybody loves Baby Jane. So Baby Jane's the girl performing. She's a blonde girl. She's performing. Everybody loves her. But then after the show, it turns out she's not as sweet as her character is portrayed to be, right? And it turns out she's more like Veruca Salt. So she's just this brat. And we find out the other girl's her sister, and her name is Blanche. And I was like, oh, okay. And then Blanche is looking at her. Blanche is giving her that, like, she gonna get hers one day. Mm-hmm. And so what I thought was gonna happen.
She even kind of said.
Yeah, I think she even kind of said something or whatever to her mom, like under her breath. And their dad was the guy on stage with her playing the piano and stuff. He's like her manager.
The daddy is Team Baby Jane.
Right.
If you Blanche.
But Baby Jane is like out of control, because even though she's backstage, her fans are back there because they want her to sign her authentic Baby Jane doll. So she has these little like dolls made to look up like her.
Little child.
And yeah, they shouldn't be playing with these dolls. These are the life size, 3 foot tall replicas of Baby Jane, right? And they pass them out at the end of every show. And she acting a plum fool, like brat level 3000, right? And she don't care because she like the show over. I'm here to be Baby Jane when I'm on stage. After that, I don't care what y'all say about me. But yeah, so I'm thinking that Blanche is gonna kill her sister out of jealousy or hatred or a mixture of both, right? But nobody's gonna know because it's gonna look like an accident. And then time is gonna go on and it's gonna be like everyone knows something happened to Baby Jane, like whatever happened to Baby Jane, but there's no evidence to like pin anybody to it or whatever, right? So that's what I'm thinking. So after this opening scene of them at like 10-ish years old, it jumps to 1935. And we see some people reviewing one of Baby Jane's movies. She's, it's 1935, so a lot of years have gone by. Right.
She's in her like 20s now, it looks like.
And apparently she sucks. Like apparently she's a terrible actress. But they mention her sister, Blanche, and Blanche done blew up. So Blanche is like this big time Hollywood actress now.
She Baby Jane now.
Yeah.
She the paraplegic.
I'll tell you what I am. I'm the paterfamilias.
And so through conversation we find out the only reason Baby Jane is still working is because Blanche is basically throwing her bones. Or whatever. Like I know that she ain't been hot since she was, prepubescent or whatever, but she done grown up being a star and she'll throw a fit if she ain't making movies, if I'm making movies, so just here throw us some little scrap movies or whatever. But so then I'm like, okay, now something's gonna happen to her or whatever, right? But no, it winds up showing so this is where it got a little confusing, but only for like me. So
it was confusing for me too.
So after they talk about this, like they're on the back lot of Hollywood or whatever, talking about this, and then it changes scenes, and there's a title card says yesterday, while a car is driving down like a residential neighborhood, and it doesn't show who's in the car, and the car pulls up to a fence, to like it's like a gated house, gated mansion. And it stops, and then the camera angle shows a woman's feet, a woman in heels, get out of the car and go to the gate. So, this is before we had automatic gates and all that stuff, so somebody got to open the gate manually. And so the feet are at the gate, unlocking the gate. Then the camera goes back to the inside of the car and shows the feet of a woman driving. And you see them let up off of the brake and shift gears and start to peel out and ram the car forward. And then you see it cuts back to the woman at the gate with just the feet. We never see anybody's face. And you see the feet turn.
The militants turn startled.
And then it's the crash. And, like a scream or whatever. And then next thing we know, it's a change scene or whatever. And come to find out, time
that
has.
still don't make sense.
Yeah, it changes, yeah.
Even explaining it just saying yesterday, it was still
It was still not yesterday.
like, because let us tell you. So when we saw yesterday, we were thinking the day before the men were talking yesterday.
That's what I was thinking.
And so yesterday, well, they showed Blanche's car outside. She had like a cream Rolls Royce. And
How did you tell it was a cream Rolls Royce?
Because the man was standing at the car looking at it, talking about it.
It was black and white.
You can't tell cream?
Oh.
Well, I can. It was a cream Rolls Royce. And the guy was like, who do they make cars like this for? Why do they make cars like this? Something like that. And then the next thing was the yesterday, and it showed the car, like it was clearly that same car, but you don't know who was driving it, who was in the passenger seat, all this stuff. And so when they said yesterday, we were like, oh, so this was the day before. They were talking until the car crashed into the thing because, you know, it would have been totaled at that point.
Right.
But then the very next scene after that is quote unquote present day. And so now it doesn't make sense still why they said yesterday.
I don't know. But, so we went from 1917 to 19, I don't think we did, to 1935 to present day, which is the 60s.
We did forget a piece.
What we
It did show whatchamacallit in a wheelchair after that, younger.
I don't know if she was young.
It was her. She was younger. Oh no, she was on TV younger.
Yeah, so
That's
it
what
transitioned.
I would just be quiet now.
It transitioned to Joan Crawford's character watching one of her old movies. So it turns out Joan Crawford is playing Blanche, you know, older Blanche, and Bette Davis is playing older Baby Jane. So it jumped from 1917 to 1935. I don't even know why they showed 1935 for real, because, well, I know why, but that was like a very small portion. So 1935 is when we're talking on the Hollywood backlot, and then the car crash happens. But the last part of 1935 is seeing from the gate's perspective. Like if you're inside the gate looking out, you can see the car rammed up against the fence, but there's nobody. And then you hear some heels running away, like some heels running away down the street or whatever, right? And then it goes to present day, which is at this time like the 60s. So you got Joan Crawford playing Blanche, the older version of Blanche, and Bette Davis playing the older version of Baby Jane. And when I say older, I mean they are older, like wrinkles and all of that or whatever, right? And so like, dang, I thought this was gonna, like, this is not how we thought this was gonna come out. So the story,
Baby Jane.
right?
It's real Jane.
We see Blanche watching an old movie of hers or whatever, reminiscing, living the good old days, and we also meet the neighbors. There's a young girl, probably in high school, and her mom. Oh, so tidbit: the young girl is Bette Davis' daughter, her real life daughter. But she's playing a next door neighbor, and she's asking her mom about the weird people that live next door. Like, I see the one lady, I see the blonde lady, but I know her sister lives with her, but I never see her sister. And that's when we find out that Blanche is paralyzed from the waist down. So she's in a wheelchair, and Jane is taking care of her, right? And Jane looks awful.
Real bad.
Real bad. She just looks like she done been through the worst of the worst, right? And as the scene goes on, we know why. Like, we see that she's an alcoholic. Like, she got 7 different bottles of Johnny Walker up on the shelf, empty. Some other bottles, I don't know what they were. I recognize the Johnny Walker label though.
But they did also say in 1935 that she was an alcoholic then too.
Yeah, they did.
She been an alcoholic
She been
for a
a
while. Maybe
she
been
man.
breaking her down all this time.
But so a little bit of trivia: how Bette Davis looked, like she just looked toe down from the floor.
Slow down.
And she's had all that caked on makeup. She did that herself. So she had the idea to tell the makeup artist, she was like, I think Jane is the type of person who's just so out of it, but at the same time wants to be glamorous, that she puts on makeup every day, but she doesn't washes it off. So it's just layered on there, just caked up. 'Cause that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, it looked like you just got 6 different layers of mascara on your eyeballs. Like, I don't know how your eyelids are open right now. It's so much mascara on your eyes. And she told the makeup artist that. He was like, or she, I don't know. But they were like, I can't do that. I'll lose my job. Like, I get where you're coming from, but people ain't gonna know that I did it based on your suggestion. They just gonna think I can't do makeup. So they refused to do it. And so she didn't have a makeup person. She spoke with whoever. She was like, I'll do my own makeup. And she did her makeup like super caked on like that. And I don't know if she kept it on from day to day and didn't actually wash it off. But
she just caked it up every day.
But yeah, it's literally layers upon layers of makeup to give the illusion of she just never washes her face. But I mean, she walking around with the fuzzy slippers, the bathrobe, she ain't getting dressed, she sliding her feet all up and down the house. Clearly, she upset. So it turns out that she's the one who ran Blanche over, didn't kill her, but just paralyzed her, right? So now she's taking care of her. But she's not taking care of her out of guilt. It's just more so like, well, I gotta take care of her because she's the breadwinner. That's where the money is or whatever. But I hate her. Can't stand her. So she treat Blanche like hot garbage, right? And there's like a maid that comes by, like a nurse that comes by. It's a black lady. What was her name?
Not Esmeralda that I kept calling
What was
her.
It was.
It's real close to Esmeralda.
It's real close to something like that. Watch it be nowhere near that. Her name is Susan. Elvira. That's her name. Her name's Elvira.
You got an N in there, you got a in there.
So Elvira is nice to Blanche. She don't trust Jane as she shouldn't, or whatever. Cause she know Jane ain't doing her right. And Blanche, it's a 2-story house. Blanche is up on the, second floor, and she basically can't do nothing of her own without Jane. Like Jane bring her food up to her drinks, all that stuff. So the scene where Jane is trying to order the liquor from the liquor store and get it delivered, and they won't sell her any because they like you cut off or whatever, and then she pretends to get Blanche on the phone and uses her voice. I found out that was actually Joan Crawford talking. I thought she was doing an impression, like literally was doing an impression. I didn't know that they dubbed it with her voice. So that's okay. I thought she was doing a good impression job, but they were just dubbing. But yeah, so basically this movie is not really a horror, it's a thriller, which most of these 1960 movies we've already established in the last review that they're pretty much going to be thrillers. But it's kind of like Jane is making stuff worse. Like it's a good.
Well, you getting ready to be a rich
gentleman.
It's good tension of like, what is Jane gonna do next? Like, what? Because Jane just torments Blanche, right? She do it. So something happens with him. So Blanche has this pet bird, and something happens. She's got her in a bird cage in her room.
She made Jane mad somehow doing nothing. Just something that Jane was mad about that she did.
And Jane was like, I'm gonna clean the cage out. So she take the cage downstairs or whatever. And then, movie goes on, blah, 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 blah happens. And she comes back with the cage, ain't no bird in that joint. And she was just like, the bird flew away while I was cleaning the cage. And she was like, what do you mean? She was like, I opened up the cage, the bird flew out, and it escaped. Flew out the window. She was like, what? And she was like, whatever. And I'm like, what'd you bring the cage back for? Like, you could have just told me that the bird escaped. What you bringing the cage back gonna do for me? And
Blanche loved that bird.
Yeah, she loved that bird. That's the only contact she got outside of Elvira, because Elvira don't come all the time. Like, she here and there. So later on for dinner, guess what Jane served? The dead bird. Don't cook it or nothing. Just put the bird on the, because this is back in the day where you serve everything on a silver tray, on the platter. And she opened up that joint, bird just sitting on top of the bed of lettuce or whatever. And Blanche, screams in horror, and then she can't eat for the rest of the day. and Jane just outside getting
Laughed
into
in her
herself.
face.
But yeah, so it's stuff like that that's happening in the movie. Jane still in the back of her head is that chick and trying to revitalize her career, and blames Blanche for holding her back. Like if she didn't have to be at the house helping her out, that she would still be a star and all this stuff, even though you the one who caused her to be in this situation in the first place. And the movie just keeps progressing to like more and more just doing Blanche dirty, from like basically treating her like Cinderella, like keeping her locked away, like Cinderella and Rapunzel all mixed in one. Locked away where nobody can talk to her. Like nobody ever gets to talk to her directly except for Elvira. You know, she disconnected phone lines.
Well,
all this stuff.
So Blanche finally had enough of it, and she was planning on moving out and like selling the house, moving into her own place. Elvira was gonna come live with her and take care of her full time, and Jane was gonna go stay in a home basically. And
Jane don't know this.
yeah, Jane found out, and that was when stuff started to escalate and get all crazy, because Blanche didn't know that Jane knew. And so Jane was basically tormenting her, torturing her for that reason. And then it finally came out that Jane knew, and that was when she ripped the phone out of the wall. She's like, "What you gonna do? Call the doctor again? Blah, 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 blah." Because there's this one doctor that Blanche talks to. He's her doctor, but also she has him work with Jane from time to time. And he was gonna come over to the house at one point when Jane was losing it. Blanche was like, "Please, you gotta come now." And the doctor was like, "What's going on?" Well, this was actually after the phone got ripped up too, when she finally got in touch with him. And then Jane came home while she was mid-call.
Let's talk.
It's
Hold
a
on.
lot going on.
So now, don't get it twisted. Blanche is not one to be victimized, because Blanche is pretty terrible herself.
Yeah.
Just in a they both awful, but two different kinds of awful. So Blanche just be heavy-handed on the buzzer. She got this buzzer to let Jane know like she needs something, and she don't buzz it once. She be like buzz, 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 and be like, "Look, that's not gonna make me come no faster to come help you out. Why are you doing this?" But
And then she'll be like, "Who's
I
downstairs?"
didn't want anything. He was like, "What you buzzing the buzzer to have the door for? You didn't want nothing." Like she always, like it's like Jane got joy out of torturing Blanche, but then Blanche also got joy out of making Jane come upstairs for nothing and do stuff for her. Like it was a toxic relationship either way. So we saying all this stuff, this bad stuff that Jane was doing, but it's like Blanche really kind of brought it on herself. And then, like, without getting into the weeds of all the stuff that happens, like I normally do, trying not to do that this time. Let me just tell you how much Blanche deserves everything that's happened to her. Jane be leaving the house, okay? Jane gotta go out and get groceries, because they're not rich no more. They're basically living off the residuals of their respective careers, which happened. Mostly Blanche's, but that was, 30 years ago, right? Like that the wreck happened in 35. She ain't worked since 1935, and it's now the 60s, right? So they getting by. They still got more money than we got, but they ain't making it like that.
Yeah, to be living in a mansion and all that.
Right. But Jane be going out, getting liquor, you know what I'm saying?
Running
errands, going to the grocery store, all this stuff. Blanche be in the house by herself. And Blanche wait. Now this is granted, this is not modern LA where the traffic is terrible and you gotta drive, way out of your way because everybody lives outside of LA. But still, if I know somebody saying they're going to the store and I'm living my worst life in the house because of them. As soon as I hear the car go out the driveway, I'm on my mission to get free. This chick waits till Jane probably is at the checkout line at the grocery store.
If that. She waits till she driving up the street.
Like, before she tries to write a letter, type a letter. She done took the time to go get her typewriter because it's not in the scene before
it's not
this.
just set up there.
Yeah, it ain't set up. She went and got her typewriter, set that joint up, put the paper in there, typed her letter of "please help me," took it out of the typewriter. Then was like, I'm gonna add some more to
Then
it.
she signed it. Oh, go ahead.
Added some more to it with a pen. She's like, I ain't gonna put it back in the typewriter because I probably gonna get the thing messed up. So she writes out a separate letter on the already typed up letter, proofreads it. And then, so she's got a window in her room, but it's got bars on it. But the bars are big enough. I mean, you've seen bars on windows before. They're not super close together. And her neighbor out doing the garden. Now there's a driveway that divides her property from her neighbor's property. So imagine your window, a driveway, one car driveway, some bushes, like a small thing of hedges, and then the next yard. How far do you think that is? Not that far. This chick balls up the note, hoists herself up out of her wheelchair.
Position.
Now she at the window. She can hold the bars, which means she can put her arm through the bar to throw this paper. That's not good enough for Blanche. Blanche yoists herself up out of her wheelchair so she can stand up. She spends 10-12 seconds steadying herself because her legs all shaky. Looks down at the lady.
But first she was like, help me. Please help me. Like, not exaggerating that how low she was talking.
Super
Help me.
low.
Please help me. Talking to this lady, like, she can't hear you, girl. Somebody that was in the room with you wouldn't have been able to hear you.
Now you talking full voice to Elvira and Jane when they're in the room. But when your life in danger and you need help, help. Excuse me. You whispering or whatever, right? Like your captor is in the next room and you don't want them to hear. So she realized she can't yell for help. So then she throws the paper. When I tell you a 1-month-old baby could have threw that paper farther than she threw that paper. It lands in her driveway, not even close to the neighbor's side. But she don't throw it until she see her sister coming up the driveway. And I'm like, why would you even throw it still?
Right.
Clearly she saw you throw it, which
At least wait on
she
her to
didn't.
come in the house.
Right. She throw it, her sister get out the car. Of course, she noticed this wadded up piece of paper on the driveway, because, why is paper on the driveway? She pick it up, read the note, and was like, oh, you out here trying to snitch on me. Or whatever. But that's just one of many times.
And then Blanche was surprised that she saw her pick up the note.
No. She hurried up and sat back down in the chair and went and acted like she wasn't doing nothing.
I thought she saw her pick it up.
She didn't see her pick it up. But you knew where it landed, and you knew there was no way your sister was walking into the house without seeing this lone balled up piece of paper on the driveway, right? But yeah, stuff like that keeps happening. I was like, clearly you don't want to get out of the situation. She could have told Elvira. Elvira could have picked her up, took her downstairs, took her on the bus with her to wherever she live at, or whatever, because Elvira ain't got no car, she take the bus. She'd be down, because she don't like Jane. She done told you to your face she don't like your sister. And, just a bunch of, it's a hostage situation, is what type of movie it is. And it was good. Good, entertainment and all that stuff is just I can't feel for you, Blanche.
So Elvira did know that Jane wasn't treating Blanche, right? But she didn't know this part, like once it got real bad, because when she came back to the house after it got real bad, where Blanche could have told her, Jane met her outside and was like, oh, we actually don't need you this week. I was feeling a little good, so I cleaned up and did everything myself, but I will still pay you, and gave her the money. And Elvira was like, well, can I at least go up and talk to Miss Blanche? And she's like, no, she's asleep right now. Just talk to her next week when you come back. She's like, all right. And then Elvira, I guess she had that feeling, something right. So she came back and was like, oh, I just want to, I'd feel a lot better if I just talked to Miss Blanche. She's like, no. And actually, we don't need you to ever come back. You're fired. She was like, fired? Does Miss Blanche know about this? Yeah, she knows. We're moving, or she said some reason, and that they wouldn't be needing her services anymore. She was like, all right. But she already know that's a lie, because her and Blanche have already talked about selling the house, Blanche moving, and Elvira coming to live with her to take care of her. And so
she asked for a key.
Yeah, Jane asked Elvira for her key back, and she was like, oh, I must have left it at home. I'll bring it back to you. And so Jane left to do some errands. Elvira came back to the house, found Blanche tied up in the room like this, with, on, not granny's floor. What are those things called? The bed that she was in? Like a hospital bed. I can't think of the name for it. But she was in a hospital bed, and when somebody is paralyzed, it has this hook, like a little loop for them to pull themselves up with. And so Jane had her arms tied up, like from the hoop, and her mouth taped closed and all of that. And so Elvira saw her, she was like, oh, Lord Jesus. And was trying to get her undone, but then Jane came home. Jane always come home right in the nick of time when something going down. She came home and snuck up behind Elvira while she trying to get Blanche undone, and Blanche was like, it's her warning.
She heard her coming in. And she was like, yo, the door was locked. So when Elvira came in the house, the door was locked. And she was trying to get in, couldn't get in. That's when Jane came back and she was like, yo, what's the meaning of this?
Oh, she told her to let her in.
Yeah, she was like, let me in this room or whatever. I don't hear Miss Blanche or whatever. It ain't like she'd be anywhere else in the house.
Yeah,
why you got her locked in? And so she was gonna...
She did.
Elvira had the hammer, and she was gonna break the doorknob.
And she set it down.
And she set it down because Jane was like, all right, I'll open the door. So Jane opened the door, Elvira go in. That's when she see Blanche all tied up.
And she did try to help her still, like, get out.
Yeah.
And then that was when Jane popped her in the head with the hammer. Elvira died.
Which is a real sad moment for Elvira. Like, come on, Elvira, that's how you go out.
Right, you were better than this.
Right, we know you better than this. We disappointed in you. So, while Blanche is being basically held captive, Jane goes and puts a one ad for like a musician in the paper. Also, Jane been stealing Blanche money. So Jane done learned how to copy Blanche's signature. She been writing checks that Blanche don't know nothing about. Blanche can't ever go to the bank, so she can't check the bank account. Jane's spending all kind of money, right? She done signed all kind of different stuff like that. And Jane is really set on this baby Jane thing. Like, even though that happened 50 years ago, anytime she go out, she asks people like, don't you recognize me? Or you probably recognize me. Yes, I am that baby Jane. And people are always like, oh, yeah, you sure is. And then when she leave, they be like, do you know who baby Jane is? Cause I mean that was ages ago,
Years ago.
right? Like don't nobody remember when you was a kid.
The people that she talking to a lot of the time
are
are like
younger.
30 years old or less.
Right, they weren't even
Like,
born when you was a star. But she puts in an ad for this dude, and it's this guy who lives at home with his mom. He got a weird, like, toxic relationship with his mom, where she basically don't want him to leave, but yet is nice about it. Like it's one of those passive aggressive things, and then he hates her guts because he ain't popping like he think he should be, or whatever. So he talk greasy to her, and all this little weird thing. But he goes and he answers the ad, goes to the house, and she basically wants to revitalize her baby Jane career. She don't want to go to this is what grown Jane is doing. She want to do her old act. So she's still singing her little songs.
got the little girly dress again,
Yeah.
like a little girl dress, not a young woman dress. Like
It's
a
wild.
dress is a little girl style dress, but
Right.
for her size.
Like they just made her original costume, but for a 60-year-old woman. She got the little socks with little frilly lace on the ankle, all that stuff. And she's singing her old songs, and I use the term singing loosely because she ain't got it like that no more.
Nope.
All kind of raspy, off key, getting a Mariah Carey on, right?
You know how on I Love Lucy, whenever Lucy would try to sing,
Yeah.
That's me.
Lucy?
That's what she sound like. Exactly what she sound like. So boy's playing the music, and even though he ain't got no job, right? He has zero job. He acting weird. Like if you ain't got no job, and even if it's some washed up actress that's hiring you, you better shut up and take that job.
Right.
He talking greasy to her like, I'm used to doing professional music and all this. Like I'm classically trained and yada yada yada. And she somehow is not hearing him. She's enthralled with the fact that anybody is
oh man,
paying any attention to her. So she done fell in love with this dude or whatever, right? And she talking about all this future, what they gonna do, and all he talking about is like, when am I getting paid or whatever and all this. She's stalling because she don't want to pay him, but she want to keep him around because she all infatuated with him or whatever, yada yada yada. And so the day that she's like, let's go for dinner or whatever, right? And because she want to have dinner with him, but she disguised it as like a business meeting. And the night that that's supposed to happen, because it's like, this is a plan, she winds up getting drunk because of issues, like stuff with Blanche has escalated with the murder. Like at this point, the murder has happened of Ira. So, she drinking her woes away. And old boy show up for the date, and she don't answer the door because she,
he can't see her.
he can't see her like that. So then he get ticked off and like start cussing at the house and all that kind of good stuff. And then he goes out and gets drunk because he mad. And then later comes back to the house and the cops see him outside, and they know this is like a celebrity's house, so they, try to arrest him. He's like, no, I know the lady in there or whatever. So they bring him to the door, and she answers. She's like, no, I know him. It's cool. Let him in. And when he come in the house, he act like he owned that joint. So he, just walking around doing whatever he want to do, and then Blanche gets loose up there and is making noise. He's like, I thought you lived alone or whatever. And so
she said that Blanche died or something.
yeah,
It's like, I used to take care of her, but she's
no longer with us or whatever. So when he hear the noise upstairs, he just pushing. This is a big old dude. He's a big boy. Yeah, he go upstairs, being Snoopy, finds Blanche, sobers up real quick, and he's like, what's going on here? Runs out the house, and she distraught or whatever. She can't take it. She's like, he gonna snitch. I know he loved me, but he gonna snitch. We gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here. So yeah, so right before Jane completely snaps.
So this is another thing that led to her completely snapping.
Yeah, right before Jane completely snaps, but after Drunk Boy done found out Blanche has been held captive up in the room and runs off, Blanche drops a nuclear bomb on us because Jane is freaking out. Jane is like, yo, what we gonna do? Or whatever, like they gonna find Elvira's body, yada yada yada. You know, he gonna tell what I've been doing to you. And you know, we going to prison. I'm going to prison. I can't go to prison. I'm too cute, baby.
Baby girl.
And Blanche tries to calm her down and drops this bomb on us.
Like it's something.
That she was like, you're not the reason that I'm in this wheelchair. I'm the reason I'm in this wheelchair. I did this to myself. And we were like, what? Come again, say what? Turns out it wasn't Jane jealous of Blanche trying to kill her at the gate. It was Blanche finally coming through on her promise of you gonna get yours.
She was tired of dealing with Jane because they went to a party that night and Jane was making fun of Blanche and Blanche was like, "This is the last straw."
And she tried to run over Jane, but Jane had them cat-like reflexes.
No, she didn't even see what happened. She was drunk still.
Oh yeah, she did say she was still drunk. So she fell out the way, and the impact from running the car into the gate, because you know, the gates were solid back then. The impact of running the car into the gate jacked up Blanche's back, so she paralyzed herself. And then Jane in her drunken stupor walked off and went, and they found her like the next morning in a motel with some random dude that she didn't know.
But Blanche, the reason that they thought
that Jane
hit Blanche is because after the car hit the gate, Blanche was trying to crawl to get help, and she only made it to the front of the car before she passed out. So she passed out near the crash scene. And
when the cops found her, assumed that Jane tried to take her out.
And she was like, no. She was like, yep. That's exactly what happened, officer.
But somehow Jane didn't get arrested.
Yeah, she did 0 jail time for this.
0 jail time. So the whole time Jane been living, you know, this I hate you life because of this lie that Blanche told. Now, again, you can't feel bad for Jane. Because Jane is a terrible person.
Yeah.
She just became more of a terrible person because her career was done, she wasn't a star no more, and she had to look after her sister who had become a star. So again, there's no winner in this movie. There's no like, yeah, I'm rooting for you. It's like both y'all trash. Y'all just 2 different levels of trash, 2 different sides of the same coin. So she take Blanche downstairs, put her in the car. She almost got to kill the neighbor because the neighbor sees her in the garage late at night. This is super late at night, but she's able to get out of that conversation, even though the neighbor's like, I really don't believe you, but I'm gonna let you slide or whatever. Jane takes Blanche. She's like, let's go to the beach. Remember we used to go to the beach all the time? At this point, Jane done snapped.
Yeah,
Jane done lost it. Yeah,
it really is just baby Jane in there.
She done reverted back to a child because she was already dealing with a lot or whatever, and then murdering, and then her little quote unquote love life blowing up in her face. And so this chick goes to the beach, and it's again middle of the night, and we see the body of Blanche in the background. Meanwhile, Jane up here making sandcastles all the way till the sun come up. We like, man, you just sitting here making sandcastles with your sister's dead body back there. But then she winds up breathing.
And she was like covered up with a blanket.
Yeah, she covered up with a blanket. But her sister, like Blanche, winds up kind of waking up. And now at this point, Blanche about on death's door because she ain't ate in some days. Because in addition,
she hasn't eaten since the bird incident.
Yeah, and when she was gonna eat, Jane threw her for another loop, put a rat on the plate.
She was like, there's rats in the cellar, by the way. When she gave her food, so Blanche was like, Lord, please, don't let it be a rat on this. I was also like, Lord, please, don't let it be a rat on this.
Opens it up. What is it? A rat.
The biggest rat. It was a puppy on that plate.
So Blanche ain't had nothing to drink, ain't had nothing to eat. She wasting away up here, right? And the beach eventually gets filled with people. Like everybody just having a good old time, living their best life on the beach. Ain't worried about this woman covered up on this blanket or whatever. Like clearly, I would think it's a dead body.
People are like next to them.
And we like, what are y'all doing? Y'all are the kings and queens of that's none of my business.
Right.
Y'all out here living your best life. So then Jane hears like the ice cream truck or whatever. She's like, ooh, Blanche, remember when we used to get ice cream? Let's go get some ice cream. So she go to get the ice cream. Now, by the way, old boy done snitched on her, but they went at the house when the cops came. So
they're just on the lookout.
yeah, there's an APB out for baby Jane. And it happens to be some cops at the little ice cream stand / food stand at the beach getting food. And Jane walks right up to him, orders her ice cream, and the cops are like, hey, yo, ain't that
Is that
who we looking for? And they follow her, and she just, again, she done lost it, so she ain't there. So she talking to the cops, and she's like, oh yeah, me and my sister down here kicking it. We having a good old time or whatever. And they're like, take me to your sister. And, the cops are following her, so then people all of a sudden now they don't know how to mind their business.
Interested.
So now they following the cops, following Jane.
It's like a circle around.
A circle of them. And they get to the body, and they're like, yep, that is Blanche down there. And Blanche got one pinky toe on this side of living right now. And then Jane is like, oh, it's just like when I was a kid. I got an audience. People would come from miles around just to see me perform. And so she just starts performing, for nobody, for real, and credits roll.
Yeah. Well, it zooms out.
It zooms out.
And it's like an aerial view of her basically spinning around in circles
with
inside
the crowd of people
the
around
crowd.
her.
And then it goes to black.
So yeah, I don't know if that sounded interesting from how we explained it, but it was definitely entertaining. What would you give whatever happened to Baby Jane?
I would give whatever happened to Baby Jane 3.5 cowboy ninjas out of 5.
Now, do you think it should be on the list?
I don't know. None. I do think it should be on the list. And not because it was innovative, as I always say, or anything like that, but because it was really good. And like that story basically of holding somebody hostage, it's been done a lot since then, aka Misery. Anyone heard of that? Maybe it was a little bit of an inspiration to Misery. I don't know. I really don't know. I wouldn't say that like but so maybe it was an inspiration to future movies based off of that storyline of somebody being somebody's caretaker but mistreating them and what all happens from that. The plot twist was really good. So I do feel like it deserves to be on the list. So, what are your thoughts on the movie? What do you rate the movie?
I think I'll give it 3.5 Cowboy Ninjas out of 5. Like if I were to give it, it'd be a light 4.
Yeah, it was like, do I want it to be 4?
Right, it's like, do I want it to be 4? Like, so like she said, I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. It really got on my nerves with Blanche's level of trying to help yourself. Like every time she tried to help herself, it was like, why'd you even try? Like this
it was like
this
she wanted to be.
You wanted to be caught, right? And it wasn't like your horror trope type of you weren't trying to help yourself. It was like, as a logical thinking person,
Yeah, like if
just
this happening in real life.
if this happened in real life, you're not really trying to get out of here. Why are you waiting so long after your sister done left to try to escape? What was you doing for the other 20 minutes?
Right. As soon as she drive off, start doing your
Start doing something. You got a window with no, like, it's no nothing keeping you but the bars. Like, you can open up the window so people can hear you. You can clearly yell for help.
Yeah.
But you up here,
help.
ain't nothing wrong with your voice when you're trying to yell for help. And it's like, what the crap is this? You could have done so many different things and you chose not to. So it's like, I don't understand it. And then the title is kind of misleading because you're thinking something bad happened to Baby Jane and that's gonna be like this mystery thriller type of deal. But so yeah, it's 3.5. I liked it. I almost really liked it. The actresses did great. I think their real life confrontation with each other helped with their acting performance. A lot of people thought this was gonna flop because they were like, y'all can't stand each other. Like, y'all not gonna be able to last on set together. And coincidentally, both of them, this was kind of a resurgence, a short resurgence in their career because it had been a long time since they both had a hit.
Yeah.
So this, like, for a brief moment brought them back into the spotlight, and then they didn't really do anything after this. Like, the tension was all good and all of that. I don't think it needs to be on the list. Like, you ain't gotta watch it. I would, and I know she gets on me about this all the time. I'm gonna tell you to watch it. Like, I'm gonna suggest, like, hey, you know, if you ain't got nothing to do, watch this. But you ain't gotta drop everything that you're doing and watch this. It's like the next movie that you watch, you know what I'm saying, before you watch anything else. But we watched it on Tubi, so if you do want to watch it, check it out on Tubi. Also, check out this movie called A Bad Seed, which came on right after, like, it just auto-played after we got done with Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. You should check that one out too, that's crazy.
If you've seen this reel and or TikTok that's in black and white of a little girl rubbing her mama's face like, I have the prettiest mother, I have the nicest mother, it comes from that movie. So watch that.
But yeah, I don't think you need to watch this before you die. But I would recommend that you watch this at some point. You know, you ain't got nothing else going on. It's free. Why not?
For now.
For now. That's all I got.
You might have noticed that we are not in our usual surroundings. I feel like we have to address that. We can't just be like, we're in a different place.
We're at a hotel.
Yeah, that's all. Like, it ain't no backstory to it. We're in a
I wasn't
hotel.
gonna address it. Like,
We still have
backstory.
to though. It's like, what, did they change the setup?
You could have been in a different part of the house.
But we didn't do that.
Anywho,
Well,
if you like this or you've seen this movie, put a comment down below. Let us know what you thought about it. You know, if you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe for more of this. We are going through again the 2020 edition of the 1001 movies you must watch before you die. I know somebody commented before that they don't have time to watch movies like this. They wish they did. You don't got to.
listen to this.
Listen to this. Unless this is a super long review.
Of the actual movie.
We paint a picture visually. You can just listen to this while you're at work or whatever. You ain't gotta watch it. You got anything else to say?
Sure we do, baby.
Well, you heard it. This has been another episode of Team Tatum.